Good morning. Good morning. Sorry for being just a few seconds late there. Just had some issues with the thumbnail, but I think that it is all squared away. You can let me know in the live chat if the thumbnail is not working, but I think we're good. Should be a big picture of Joshua Zirkzee. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I am glad to be back with Man United News Roundup as the summer window rolls on here. Got a little bit of news coming out in the last 24 hours or so. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. I'd love to share my thoughts, and then kind of process, what we think about it, what's going on, what our plans are. As United sounds like they're kind of still trying to assess and prioritize. But before we do, get stuck in, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I do respond to everybody. Still waiting on the winner of our shirt giveaway to drop me his info so we can get him that shirt. But if you do want to be entered into some of these giveaways, I've got a few more pre-match tops and even a quarter zip that I plan to give away. You got to be subscribed to the channel. It helps to get involved as well. Let me know your thoughts here and there. Like the videos, share them, get those hours up, get those subscribers up, help grow the channel, build the community, get a lot of people involved, and then that's how I want to show my appreciation. So let's get that going. If you guys do want to get entered into those giveaways, so let's jump right into a little bit of an exciting news day. So the summer window has opened for like a week or so now, roughly. No one's really making a whole lot of moves. We've seen a lot of talks advanced, personal terms, agents flying here and there to do that. Nothing's really confirmed as of yet. I think Chelsea picking up Adarabioyo has been like the biggest move so far this summer. But that's not abnormal. I know a lot of people are impatient. A lot of people are frustrated. And United fans, this is par for the course for us, right? We don't tend to move very quickly in the window. And I know people are going to look at Ineos or Jim, everybody, and say, well, what's going on? We have this new team, best in class. I get that. But you have to remember, the only person actually in the job now in terms of our recruitment is Wilcox. And he's kind of taken up an interim role as director of football and whatnot while we wait for Ashworth, while we wait for Barada. They're on gardening leave. So it's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to be slow. And let's be honest, the transfer window has only been open for a week, like I said. Nobody's really making a whole lot of moves. And I think, as we spoke about the other day, a big part of that has to do with funds. But I think we are going to be seeing some moves here in the next few weeks. So this is coming from Ben Jacobs. He did state recently that, even though United we're just one of the other clubs who has to navigate PSR and FFP. We have to raise funds by selling players. We don't have a whole lot of a budget in June. But he does say that, Ben Jacobs, that we are planning to bring in at least 2 new signings before preseason. So preseason for United kicks off mid-July. I think we're playing Rosenborg in Norway. Then we've got a couple more friendlies. We'll probably have a few more behind closed doors friendlies here and there as well. We tend to do that. So that's roughly 3 weeks away. Can we get multiple deals done before that? Can we get at least 2 people signed before then? Can we sell multiple players before then? That's a big ask. And I think that, we are waiting, like a lot of clubs, like I said, for July to kick in. We'll get the new financial period kicked in. We'll get our new shirt sponsorship then as well. That's £60 million boost. I think that's what a lot of clubs are waiting for. I know Everton probably waiting for that. Everton might be getting new owners soon, so we'll see if that has any impact on the Branthwaite deal or not. I have my thoughts on center back. I'll touch upon that a little bit later, but it's interesting. So I think that we're used to seeing us move slowly to start. It's obviously, the Euros going on, Copa America going on, all that going on is going to play a role as well. So it's another one of those summer windows where there's just a lot of moving parts, at least for us, especially United, on top of what's already normal. We have no recruitment really structured yet because we're waiting. New owners. We have to sell players. We're financially kind of struggling. And we have the Euros going on. So it's always going to be difficult. I think it's not abnormal. So I think people need to zoom out the lens a little bit, widen the perspective, and just remind themselves of the context of this summer. Yes, it's an important window for Ineos, an important window for United, but there's a lot of other factors at play here that are out of our control. So let's be patient. As far as transfers go, it does look like that one player we won't be spending a lot of our budget on is Michael Olise. David Ornstein dropped some big news yesterday, and he did reveal that Mike Olise looks like he's set to join Bayern Munich. It's difficult to compete with Bayern Munich, just like it's difficult to compete with, Real Madrid in the transfer market. It just is. They're big European giants right now, especially, and they are almost guaranteed trophies. I mean, Bayern were guaranteed trophies until this past season, but that's, so it's difficult, especially considering where United are at right now financially. We have a rebuild. We're prioritizing. We're assessing. We have other positions I think are more important than the right wing, and it is what it is. Context is key, right? So we reported the other day that Palace were ready to kind of offer Olise a new contract where they were hoping to increase that release clause, open to give him a pay raise as well. But and Chelsea were kind of in advanced negotiations as well with Olise. We reportedly had personal terms agreed for like months. Olise is a fan of United. It looked like we were set to kind of do that. But Bayern kind of swooped in, and it is what it is. It sounds like personal terms aren't a problem. It sounds like they're just negotiating with Palace over the fee. He did have that release clause that was only applicable to Champions League clubs. It does sound like that the wages were an issue for us anyway. It sounds like he's getting more than like 200,000 a week, which to me is big. We're broke, and that's just to me an insane wage to pay someone he's a Crystal Palace winger. He's really only had like one really good, decent season. He's been injured for quite a bit of it. He hasn't really done a whole lot of note. It just seems odd to me. He just only signed that new contract last summer too, and so I think he was on 100 grand a week. We have a history of paying crazy wages for wingers. Look at Anthony. He was on 20,000 a week at Ajax, and now he's on 10 times that at United. So it's not unheard of for us to do, but that was before Ineos. That was before, this new ownership, this new structure, and these new regulations that we're trying to impose upon ourselves in terms of, wage structure, financial responsibility, cutting back on the lavish perks and spending and kind of getting more to a sustainable financial situation. And so it does look like the fee was a big deal, and just the finances for us kind of forced us to slow down a little bit, where Bayern don't have that kind of restriction in place. So they're able to move in, throw some weight around, grab Olise, not a problem. So I think that wage structure too, if that's what Olise is really asking for, that would have really hurt us a lot. You can't give a new signing like Olise that kind of money and then not expect guys like Garnacho or Bruno to be knocking on the door the next day. Like, yo, I've been here a couple of years, doing pretty well. I'd like to talk to you about my wages. It's not helpful. So I do like Olise. I do think he's a good player. I just, if you guys have seen many videos, I've never thought that he was our priority. At least that money. I think that the position that we need to be looking at was not right wing to start. Obviously, he improves us, but we need players in other positions, and we need players that improve us in other positions before we do that. So center back, midfielder, striker, left back, these are all priorities for me. Then you add to that too, we got those reports that, we consider Amad Diallo to be a key player moving forward. I think I even saw some rumors today that we were looking at maybe getting Diallo up on a new contract. So we got Rashford, Garnacho, Amad Diallo. We might need to bring in somebody because it doesn't look like Anthony and Sancho are staying. Anthony, if I had to guess, I would say Anthony would stay more than Sancho, but we'll see what happens there. I think we do need to move him on. Maybe a loan would be good for Anthony. go someplace like a Sociedad or somewhere like that, and let him kind of just get some time out of the spotlight and see if we can at least improve the fee we might get for him if he does well in another league, kind of like we saw with Greenwood. Um, it does kind of feel like we kind of stepped away from the Olise deal though. A while, like maybe a week or two ago, it kind of things were going quiet. Chelsea had swooped in, like I said, and so it just kind of seemed like priorities financially kind of forced our hand, which I'm not super bummed about, but that it is a thing that Bayern Munich were able to swoop in so quickly. So I think we could still see United go for a winger late in the window, maybe someone younger though, like a not like an Olise type, or even a Pedro Neto type. I think someone like we talked about, Due or even La Sule, could be someone that we see come in. So keep an eye on that. I wouldn't put it past us. I don't think any of the youngsters are quite ready yet. Like Shea Lacey's way too young. Forsen left. So we'll see what happens. Or I do think we probably need to strengthen if we sell Anthony and Sancho. But staying in that area of the pitch, so it does seem like we are in the pole position to sign Joshua Zirkzee, as the thumbnail implies. Remember the other day we reported that AC Milan and Zirkzee's agent were kind of struggling over negotiations. They hit kind of at a roadblock when it came to Zirkzee's agent's bonus. So obviously Zirkzee has like that 34 million pound release clause. His agent was looking for like a 12 million bonus, I think it sounded like, which honestly is asinine. And as a result, relationship and negotiation with AC Milan and Zirkzee's agent, both were kind of digging in their heels. And United entered the chat, right? We kind of came back. We have good relationship with this agent. Everything's moving pretty friendly there. He's willing to give us a substantial discount on that bonus. And we look like we're set to trigger that 33.8 million release clause after all parties have kind of come in agreement. So now it's up to Zirkzee to decide where he wants to play, what his priorities are. It sounds like there are a few things he wants to know, or I guess be assured of. So this is coming from Graham Bailey. Zirkzee apparently wants to know, before he agrees to any move, what his role is in the club and what the club's plans are, the future, where the club is going, basically. Obviously, we've got new owners. We're sticking with Ten Hag. We're kind of shifting some of the high earners out, and we're kind of starting a proper rebuild. I know we've been saying that every year for the last decade, but I think under new owners, I think we're going to actually start to see some changes. We've already seen some changes moving up behind the scenes once we get Barada and Ashworth in roles. We're really focusing heavily on guys like Menu and Garnacho and Højlund, Diallo, and I think that we're going to see some changes. And I think Zirkzee could be a striker that leads that. Obviously, he's still young, and he wants to know, where he's going to go, because he's got a lot of clubs that are interested in him, which you don't fault him for. But not everyone is a fan of the Zirkzee signing. Not that they're not a fan of Zirkzee, the player, but just how he fits in. So specifically, former Manchester United striker Dwight York. He's not a super big fan of United bringing in Zirkzee. So he has said names like Joshua Zirkzee being linked with Man United is baffling. They need a striker who can definitely score goals. They need someone who knows how to play in the Premier League. Why would you need 23-year-old Zirkzee when you have 21-year-old Rasmus Højlund already at the club? York continues and said Erik ten Hag needs to have an experienced man at striker alongside Højlund, as he obviously struggled towards the end of last season. Nicholas Füllkrug is one of those experienced strikers who has been smashing in the goals lately, but he needs to be the right character. To be at United, you need to show resilience and not a weak mentality. That's what Sir Alex Ferguson was good at finding. That's why I think Højlund needs to grow up very quickly. The honeymoon period is over for him, and if he doesn't hit the ground running next season, he will come under a lot of scrutiny. You have to be a man to play it at United. So York thinks that Zirkzee and Højlund probably wouldn't be a good fit. It almost sounds like York thinks that Højlund is kind of being looked at as the young developer. And to some degree he is, but he thinks that Højlund needs to step up more And maybe we should be looking at someone older. And I remember a few weeks back, there were talks that we were looking at older, more experienced, even Premier League proven strikers. I don't necessarily disagree with York. I do think, and it's interesting the comments coming from York, because he, came from a period at United where he and Cole were very in tandem, similar ages, similar skills, like they could work together very well. I do think Zirkzee and Højlund could work together. I do think they're very different profiles to each other. I do think that Ten Hag likes the younger players. I think that he likes to be able to work with them and develop them and teach them. And I think those young players are more open to that, as opposed to someone like Ronaldo or Cavani coming in, who have already, in their 30s. They're not going to want to be taught. We can't afford to just wait for too many young players to develop, though. We need players now. And that's not me being like a Conte or Mourinho, who's like, get every 28, 29-year-old who's won something and put him in the side. That's not what I'm saying. But we need someone like Adrian Rabiot, 28, 29, free signing, could come in and really bring balance in terms of the experience and the leadership go. So there also are experienced strikers out there who I think could offer a lot, who could score goals, who could help teach Højlund, movement in the box and things like that, who also wouldn't cost a lot. Someone like Schmodix at Blackburn, who's doing really, really well. I think he led the championship in goals last season. Shuba Akpom, I've mentioned before. I think he was one of the top scorers at Middlesbrough before he joined Ajax last season. Miofsky at Aberdeen, doing really well. Marmoush at Frankfurt, doing really well. I think Liverpool were linked with him a little while back. Goodmanson at Genoa is a really good striker. I think he's like 26, 27, doing really well. Sebastian Aller at Dortmund. Ten Hag had him as one of the top scorers in Champions League a few years ago at Ajax. I think he could do a job, et cetera, et cetera. Yorkie mentioned Fulkrug, who's doing really well. So I think there are a lot of options out there, and I think that United need to get creative. The striker market is interesting. It's not as saturated, I think, as the center back market, but I do think we need to be smart with it. We only have a finite amount of funds, and we need to prioritize. So we do need goals. It's just a question of, we already spent a lot on Højlund. I don't want us to spend a ton on a striker, and I don't think we need to. Zirkzee's release clause is very, very affordable, very, very good piece of business, and he's a good striker. So I'm not fussed about it, but I do think it's just one signing, and we do need to make smart ones in other positions. So we'll see what happens. Moving on a little bit to the wing again. So this is coming from Italian outlet Gazzetta dello Sport. They're pretty frequently popping up in transfer rumors throughout the years. They were reporting, so remember we talked a little bit about Juventus, looking at Mason Greenwood, looking at Jadon Sancho. So apparently Juventus cannot afford to pay United's asking price for Mason Greenwood. Remember, we're holding out for something of like 40 million for him. But what Juventus might consider, apparently, is a swap deal involving Federico Chiesa. Chiesa's current contract runs out next summer, I think. It doesn't sound like he's ready to renew. It sounds like maybe he's considering his options. I don't know how much I buy this rumor. Swap deals they sound so ideal and perfect, like on paper, right? And they seem to make so much sense, but how often do they happen? They just don't happen very frequently. I think that Chiesa is good. He's in that age profile. I think that we do need some more players in that 25, 26, 27 age profile. He's experienced. He's a good attacker. But I do think United probably want more. I think they could benefit from cash more than a swap. And so we'll see what happens. I wouldn't say no to Chiesa, but again, it's just one of those things. Like, would we rather get the cash for Greenwood and spend it on a priority than just swapping for a right wing when we still have Antony and Sancho on the books? That puts pressure on us then to have to, worry about getting rid of Antony and or Sancho, and that other clubs will know that, and they'll probably put in lower offers. And so we have to be smart in that regard too, especially if having money is more important than getting a right winger. So again, I don't know how much I buy this one. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about, but I think that we need the cash more than we need a right winger right now. We have a little bit of an update regarding our potential center back search. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to do firsthand with United, but it could impact United. So there's been an update regarding Lenny Yoro and Real Madrid, potentially. So Ben Jacobs has reported that the Saudi club Al Qadsiya are said to sign Nacho Fernandez from Real Madrid. So he's what, 31, 32, 30, 31 center back. He was a main part of their defensive line this past season. So it looks like he's set to join them, head to the Saudi league. Now, this could mean that Real Madrid accelerate their interest in Lenny Yoro. We know that they're interested. We know Lenny Yoro wants Real Madrid. He's holding out for Real Madrid. He seems like he fits them like a glove. He's already rejected a move to the Premier League. Apparently, I think the report says that was Liverpool that put in an offer for him. United are unable to sign Jean-Claire Todibo because of UEFA rules. It looks like Yoro only has eye for Real Madrid, and we're also struggling with Everton regarding Jared Branthwaite, with reports claiming that we're ready to just walk away from Branthwaite if Everton don't lower their price. So that's how the Nacho going to the Saudi league could impact us. It's a domino effect. I think that's 3 potential center back targets that you kind of almost have to think highly likely to just be off the table altogether. We can't sign Todibo because of UEFA rules. Branthwaite might be too expensive, and Euro is probably going to Real Madrid. So as far as the top three in our list of center back targets goes, that's the top 3 kind of off the table already. So it's not ideal. And I think that some of that's out of our hands. Obviously, you can't fault a player like Euro for his dream move being Madrid. You can't do anything about UEFA rules, even though they're bullshit. And Branthwaite, just is too expensive, which is a bummer. So we'll see what happens there. I think that there are options for the center back that we could be looking at, and I'll give my option here in a second. So moving on to a different position and some outgoings here. So it's a bit of news that's surprising to me. So beIN Sport in Turkey is reporting that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is nearing a move to join Galatasaray, who have offered him a 4-year deal. And remember, a few weeks ago, we did share that report that Galatasaray had offered some really stupid low fee for him. I think it was like in the single digits, which was just ridiculous. It was like 5-6 million. It sounds like we're reportedly holding out for something closer to 20 million, which is close to what I said I think we should be getting for him, in between that 20-25 million. He's 26. He's a good fullback. He's just, Dalot is better. That's all there is to it. So I think that any Premier League club would be looking at paying like 20-25 million for him. We paid stupid high money for him because that's what we do. It wouldn't be a bad move for Wan-Bissaka to go to Galatasaray. You're playing in Champions League pretty much. He'd be reunited with Wilfried Zaha, who's there right now. Again, I just hope we get a decent fee. I'm really tired of giving away players for like next to nothing. We lose so much money on so many players. It's really, really annoying. The problem is, though, again, right back wouldn't have been my priority position to look at strengthening, because we have center back, striker, midfield, and left back are probably my priorities. And if we sell Wan-Bissaka, we do need to replace him, since that only leaves Dalot as our only right back. And that's not a good place to be in. So not only do we need a left back because Malacia and Shaw just never fit, and we need a center back, but if we sell Wan-Bissaka, we do need a right back. Now, this is where I'm starting to get a little creative here. We could solve 2 of those issues, left back, center back, right back, by considering Jules Koundé as a signing this summer. Obviously, we were linked with him when he was at Sevilla. He ended up going to Barcelona for around 50 million. He can play as a right back as well, and he's done so on several occasions. He's done so adequately. Obviously, his preferred position is center back. So I think if you remember a while back, Barcelona were open to selling Koundé among other players like Rafinha, because they needed to raise money. Barcelona are probably in a worse position than we are financially. They need to raise money, and Koundé was one of those names on the list. Remember, we were linked with Araujo as well. I like Koundé a lot. I liked him a lot when we were linked with him at Sevilla. That was back when, even to some people, I was suggesting maybe can we just like swap David De Gea for Koundé. This is back before we gave him that 1-year extension. I think David Gea would have preferred to play in Spain anyway at that time. But anyway, I really like Jules Koundé. A lot of people criticize his height. I think he's like 5'11", which isn't short really. I mean, what's that? It's an inch. It's not a big deal between that and like 6 foot. I really like Koundé. Don't let the 5'11" fool you. The dude can jump, right? So he's actually in the 96th percentile for aerial duels won last year. He's really, really good on the ball. He's in the 96th percentile for progressive passes and attempted passes. So he's playing those balls, those incisive passes through the opposition, trying to find teammates higher up the pitch, which is what Ten Hag wants, someone who's good on the ball, press resistant. And he does this so well, too. So he's actually got an 89.5% completion rate, which for center backs is in the top 1%. So he's in that 99th percentile. So his passing is impeccable. His clearances and his aerial duels are literally top 5% or so. Like, he is probably one of the ideal center backs that we could look at for the way Ten Hag wants to play, for the price. I think we could talk Barcelona down as well to get something lower than what they paid for him. United, look at Jules Koundé. You wanted him, and you think he's what, 25 now? So we're already linked with some players who are a little older, like Bremer, for instance, who's what, 27. Koundé could be a good get. He's experienced, Champions League experience in Europe, very good player. So I like us to look at Jules Koundé. I think he'd be a great signing for us. Finally, a little bit of outgoing news. So Turkey seems to be the hot spot for United players this summer. So we talked about Wan-Bissaka just a few moments ago. Last video, we talked about Lindelof potentially being reunited with Jose Mourinho at Fenerbahce. I think Fenerbahce's either their president or their sporting director was in Manchester this week too to talk to us about Lindelof. So now we have another potential player, United player, going to Turkey possibly. So this is from Turkish outlet Sports. So Fenerbahce, who remember we just said are in negotiations with Lindelof, might also be interested in Casemiro. There were some whispers this week that Casemiro's moves to the Saudi League are not going to happen. Those negotiations broke down between Al Nassr and Al Ittihad. I think there were two clubs that were interested in him. And there was even some rumors that Casemiro wanted to stay United for another year. I'm not having it in terms of keeping Casemiro. I think his performances and just his overall demeanor on the pitch, especially in these last 2 or 3 months of the season, like his head has looked gone since. He doesn't look like he's in it and doesn't look like he can hang anymore. He's a yellow card waiting to happen. He's a mistake waiting to happen. It's just the drop off since his injury has been just shocking. And it's time to move him on. I think Fenerbahce, Turkey would be a good move for him. I think that he would do very well. They play in the Champions League or at least in the Europa League, Fenerbahce. I'm not sure how many teams that the Turkish league gets in Europe, but that could be a good move for him. I just don't think it's going to work out for United anymore for him. It is what it is. He was great for us his first season, and then that long-term injury hit, and just like, a broken record at United, with players getting these injuries, it just never healed properly. And so I think that we saw him struggle. He was not great filling in at center back, and that's not his fault, but the kind of mistakes he was making in some of these matches at center back were like, I don't care who you are, you don't make those kind of mistakes. And it cost us on some occasions. And so he looked better. I think one of those last few games when he was able to get pushed back in midfield and he was getting more involved higher up the pitch, I think that's where he excels. I just don't think he can hang with the league anymore. So we'll see what happens. I think Fenerbahce could be a good move for him. I think Fenerbahce could be a good move for Victor Lindelof. Galatasaray could be a good move for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I just want us to get good fees for these players, free up those wages, and let's start making some moves in the market, because we want to get players in before preseason, as Ben Jacobs said. That's 3 weeks away. We still have a lot of players that we need to look at getting rid of. Sancho, potentially. Anthony, potentially. So we will see what happens. But we have some priority positions assigned. I'd like to get those done. And I think there are some good options out there. Like I said, look at Jules Koundé. If you guys aren't familiar with Koundé, which I don't know how you wouldn't be, go check out his numbers. Let me know your thoughts. But that's going to do it for today. A little bit of a quiet one, but still some interesting news. Let me know your thoughts. Adam Peters, hit me up at unitedstatesofunited@gmail.com, man. I need your details so I can get you this shirt. If I don't hear from you by like Monday, Tuesday, I'm gonna open up the giveaway to the next person. And if you guys want to be entered into that, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, get involved, leave a comment, leave us something in the live chat. It always helps. Can't hurt your chances. But we'll go from there. Please like the video, guys. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.